Welcome to everyone. Posso? Okay. Welcome to everyone, and welcome to these lesson about the perfect workflow for perfect communication. And I would like to thank all of you for being here. And I will jump over this first charts just because we already met, we already know one to each other. So I'm going to skip this to arrive to a specific chart dedicated to what you're going to learn in this course. So, the first thing that you will learn is how to organize your work in order to create a communication effective and efficient for your business. And in particular, you will discover what are the steps necessary to do that. But let's start from this question. What is communication? Can someone give me an idea? Sorry? Okay. What else?
Exchange of signs and symbols.
What else?
Process.
Sorry?
Process.
Okay. I'll give you my answer. So, communication is a process through which a sender, thanks to a medium, send a message to one or more receiver, bypassing the noise unscathed. This is the perfect definition of it. This means that communication is based in sending just only one message at a time. And the other factor, very important, is noise, because it interferes or prevents effective communication between sender and receiver. And actually, there are a lot of kind of noise. I identified 7 for you. The first one is the physical one, which includes everything that is an external sound or a stimulus such as environmental noise. It can be also semantic. So, for example, a doctor that talks in a specific language with the patient and there is not understanding between the two of them. Or it could be also physiological. For example, if you drink a lot and someone is talking to you, you are not able to identify the message because you are drunk. Or, for example, it's physiological, which arises in the case of prejudice and narrow mindedness. Or it can be also cultural, let's say between two different people coming from two different parts of the world. It could be also technical, if we got some issues with our tools or equipment. But I would like to add one more, which is personal to me, and is the one generated by the competition. So, if you think about how risky is noise, you can understand also that the message can be felt by the receiver in a totally different way. And it's important to try to identify as a professional a way to avoid the noise. In commercial communication, generally, a message consists of a creative mix between communication written or oral associated with the visual part. which, if is not adequately designed, can give risk to a lack of understanding of the same result in damage in terms of wrong investment. Have a look to these two pictures. On the left side, I took that picture near to my studio. It's a billboard. And have a look how many messages are inside of it. So it's really confusing. You don't know which one is for you and which one will achieve the goal in terms of business. On the other hand, there is a billboard, an ambient billboard actually, for a film festival in which you can see someone that is crying, and actually there are some water drops coming from the billboard itself. So on the left side we got something which is wrong, and on the other hand we got something that is a way to involve your target in receiving your message. This message has to be addressed also to a proper target audience, which is a limited number of people that are interested to your message, in receiving it and in doing something because of it. And this will generate a return of investment. So if you talk with someone which is not interested, you are spending your money and you're wasting your money. I'd like to give you now an idea about what is doing communication as a professional. And have a look to this picture. Does it look strange to you to define a creative communication as a shooter? Does it seem strange to you to be like this? Someone like me, for example, could be identified, in your opinion, as a shooter? Yes or no? It's not a difficult question.
Is it strange for us to identify as shooters?
Sorry?
Is it strange for us to identify as shooters?
It's difficult to identify a creative or someone that works in communication as a shooter. Okay.
After the war in Ukraine, I think this image
The thing is that as the shooter, a creative that works in communication has a combat field, which is the market, has a gun or multiple guns that are the medias, and for each gun has a shoot, which is the message. But the problem is that most of the time, people like me goes in combat in this way. Does it seem strange to you? The thing is that there are two main reasons because of it. The first one is because we are missing a complete briefing about what to do. Most of the time, clients call me and say, "Oh, I need an ad. Do something creative. Let's see what are the results." This is not the way I work, okay? Because in this way, it's like telling someone to kill someone else without having a look to where is the target. And the second reason of it is because sometimes, or most of the times, briefing are wrong, are not well written, there is a lack in strategy. So in this lesson, we will identify how to solve these problems. There are two different approaches for each one. Of course, it could be also a problem related to the creative that will will do the yard, will work on this communication, but we will focus just only on the company side. Let's assume that the creative, it's okay, it's someone good that is able to do his job. So let's start from having a proper brief, and let's ask ourselves what is a brief. It's a complete, well-written brief is a fundamental step in enabling the creatives who will design corporate communication to work by having a specific track from which to start to develop their job. And the brief is a document created and edited by the corporate marketing department necessary to determine the basic elements for creating the strategy of a creative corporate communication project. Not all the briefs are the same. Sometimes some elements can change, but most of the time there are some common elements between all of them. And we will see them in a few. But basically, we need to give an answer to this kind of basic information: who, what, where, when, and how of what is required. For example, you need to advertise an event, so you need to say who is planning to do that event. What is going to be done during that event, where is going to be done, and when, of course, and how to book the ticket for that event. Like any good project, we need a purpose, objectives, expectation, and budget in order to solve the problems. Because as a creative, if I don't have a budget to produce something, probably I can't do something for you. Let's move on to understand why it's important to have a brief, because this document is also a way to allow all the stakeholders that are involved in the process to be on the same page. And it's also useful because in terms of saving time, in terms of not having issues between all the people that are involved, and also not to waste time and money. Let's see now how is organized a briefing. These 16 elements are the main information that you should communicate to someone that is working for you in order to create your communication. So a title description of the stakeholders that are involved and the decision making especially, with contact details in it. All the purpose, objectives, and opportunities of the project. Who's the target? The message, call to action, and tone of voice that we will use in order to do that. The reason to believe to that message. The company and brand background. The brand identity, personality, and payoff. A competitor's overview could be useful as well. The media outputs and formats. The output of distribution of our communication. Budget and eventually resources of it. The deadlines of the projects. The KPIs. All the attachment like brand guidelines and other strategic stuff. You will have all the PDF for you, so There's no need of taking pictures if you want to follow me now. And at the end, also the films. Let's see in details each one of them. The title and description, it could be, seems silly, but giving a naming to the project is essential most of the time. And it's also a good way to give a brief idea of what we are going to do. Second, the stakeholders. Who are the people involved? Who will approve the creative outputs? How is possible to get in touch with those people who are part of the project? And it's necessary, obviously, to specify all this kind of information, not to have problem while we are running the process. The purpose, objectives, and opportunities of the project are very, very important, because if we ask ourselves what is the need behind the communication project, what problem does it solve, what opportunity or challenge allows you to realize, we probably start in the creative minds, a way to identify a solution and to propose that kind of solution to us if we are the company. The target. Who is the primary and the secondary target of your communication? For example, if you are creating an event for kids, who is the primary target in your opinion? Yes, yes, Paula. But who is the secondary target? Yes, because if you do a message which is compelling or it's good for a kid, probably the kid will go to his mom and will say, "Oh, mom, can you please buy me the ticket for that event?" That is the process. But also all the other information that are about the age, the gender, where they are, how they think about something, are important in order to identify the best way to communicate with these people. The message itself. A company should provide what is the message that had to be communicated. It's not my job to identify the message. My job as a creative is to use that message and to rework that message in a way that is that can create a connection with your target. I don't have to do that. And it's important for a company to know and to express this kind of idea. I want to say to someone that is interested in my event that I'm ready to open my arms and to say welcome to him. The reason to believe. Why a target should believe that the message sent it's true. It's something that is close to my ideas. Well, we have to give also this kind of information to a creative. A company and brand background is a way to identify the sender. Any company should work on branding, and we will see during this presentation also what branding is and how it's important. But giving this information to a creative that is working for you is essential to create something that is unique for your brand. So give your point of view and give the background that is necessary to do that. Brand identity, personality, and payoff. When we talk about brand identity, we are talking about trademarks, we are talking about fonts, we are talking about colors, we are talking about tone of voice, and all the other elements that are important to identify the sender. So, and the payoff as well. So it's important to give also this kind of information in a brief. A competitor overview is not important, it's essential. Because if we think that any brand should be different to each other, giving this overview, it's also a way not to say the same thing in the same way. So the more we are able to be far from our competitors, the more we will be able to be identified by our target as a solution instead of our competitors. Media outputs and formats are essential in order to create a proper design. Have a look to the bottom part of this chart. For example, for a video, we can say, oh, I need a 30-second duration video, which should be Full HD in 16 by 9. This is a format, for example, horizontal. But let's say that we want something else for social medias, for example. It won't be 16 by 9, it will be 9 by 16 because it's vertical. So giving this information to the people that is going to design your communication, it's essential. And these are all some other example about printing, something about the web with a banner or a web card for Facebook. There are you can see, for example, we were talking about this with Mateus when we were outside. There are two different color systems between printing and everything that is digital. An RGB for digital and a 4 colors color scale for printing. And this is essential in terms of result, because if you apply the 4 color scheme for digital outputs, you probably have some bad images which are lack in colors. Output distribution is also essential. So once as a creative I've finished my job, who is going to collect and distribute all the result of my job? So I should know that probably there is someone that a company that hold 10,000 billboards all around the country, and so I need to contact them, for example, in order to give them the opportunity to distribute my media, my outputs. Budget and resources are essential because think about it, there are a minimum of 2 different budgets when we create and produce an ad. The first one is for the creative part itself, to pay a graphic designer or a copywriter. A second one is to produce. A third one probably will be to acquire medias. So having a look and giving this information, it's essential to run the entire process. Deadlines. You already listened to Matteo's presentation about how much important they are. We got if you do a media plan, for example, for traditional media, I'm giving this example just to give you some good elements and easier elements. You buy a space, another space for a limited period of time. So, for example, for 1 week on TV for a commercial. So, what is going to happen if you fail your deadline in producing the 30-second video that you will distribute on TV? You are going to waste some days or the entire week. So deadlines are fundamental in order not to have problems and not to have issues with or not to lose money. KPIs. We already talked about this also with Matteus, and they are important to identify the effects and the return of investment about your communication. Attachments, it could be anything that could be useful for the process. And at the least, also the films are important just to be sure that anyone had a look to the brief and we are on the same page. But I think that there is, and this is a kind of personal method that I use, to identify is if a briefing is okay. And I use this kind of technique. Let's start from the idea that we got three elements. One is time, one is quality, and the other one is money. But we don't have the possibility to use all the three of them at the same time. So we are forced to use just only two of them. So if you have a look to the brief that you're going to share with your creative, and you are analyzing the brief, you identify that, for example, tight time and output quality are supported by an adequate budget, everything is okay. In the same way, if tight deadlines and limited budgets are preeminent with respect to the quality of the outputs, everything is okay, because probably we will not produce the best looking campaign of our life, but it will be something that works. If we find that a low budget and high quality are supported by a long-term period in which we can develop this, also in this case we can say that everything is okay. But if it will appear that all the three factors are important for the clients, probably the company is asking too much compared to what is offering. And on the other side, if it emerges that just only one of that point is inside of the briefing, so the document is incomplete and doesn't allow even to start working on the advertising. So now what? If the briefing it's okay, probably the ADV campaign will be okay, because everything needed to develop the ADV design process, it's at the creative disposal. But what if the briefing is partially wrong or totally wrong? Well, as a company, the only way to avoid this kind of problem is to start thinking and doing differently the entire process that brings into a creative brief. And so we need to do each step without shortcuts. It's necessary to design and plan in details the whole process that leads to communicating through a workflow capable of reconciling the various needs. Themes such as branding, marketing, corporate communication constitute and taken together, it's a specific branch of a company, which in the development and implementation of strategies and processes must work in a coordinated way. So for these reasons, all these issues can be reported as a whole, a sequential workflow that can be divided into a series of steps. Let's have a look to this chart, which is very important, and we will find that a lot of time during this lesson. Our starting point, it's a business idea that is realized with a product or service ready for the market or already on the market. Our first step will be the business planning, which involve a business model or a business model canvas or a business plan for biggest projects. And of course, there is the definition of company objectives, like mission, short and long-term objectives, and also the budgets. The next step is about developing the branding for each company. First step, marketing. These are the foundation to face the market. After that, the digital marketing. So the digital forms to face the market. We have to take also in consideration also the media spaces, and the media plan in order to achieve our goals. Now it's time of communicate. So we have to create and produce our message in order to deliver it. And after that, we have to measure our results in order to identify our return of investment. And then we come back. So this is a circular process, and we have to do it again, again, and again by the time. So let's see step by step this process to identify what to bring inside our creative briefing, assuming since the beginning that we have a working business idea with a product or service ready to the market or already into the market. Step 1, the business planning. So we are at the start of our trip. And let's assume that any marketing and communication action must necessarily arise from a business objective, contained in a proper business plan. And as Matteo's already said before, it should be smart. So it should be specific, it should be measurable, achievable, timely, and relevant. We can divide any kind of objectives in 3 different types. The first one is the mission, which is the most important one because it leads all the business. On the other side, we got medium and long-term goal, and the third type is the short-term goals. Let's see in details this kind of objectives. The first one I said is the corporate mission, which is a declaration of intent of an organization or a company which express what distinguishes it from its competitors, its ultimate goal, and what allows it to achieve the pre-established results. The mission must be as concise as possible and must make it clear how the main objective is achieved. To define the mission, you can start, for example, from these questions. What's the story of the company? What resources do it have? Why does the business exist on the market? What makes it unique compared to competitors? What are its values? What tools do you use? Does he use? What needs does it meet? Etc. 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 The medium-long-term objectives are those that express the result that are intended to be achieved in the space of 3, 5, or 10 years, describing which resources must be used to achieve them. And they can be different kind of objectives like development, profitability, organizational, market leadership, and so on. The short-term goals are actions that can take place in 6 or 12 months, which will lead step by step to the final goals. But let's be clear about this. Once an objective has been defined, strategies and action must always be elaborated, and the resources to be used to achieve them must be listed. So let's move on in step 2, the budgeting process, because we need money to do something, and of course, we got to say, how much is it? We are running a business, so if we invest some money, we should be able also to determine it at the end of the process how much money is going back to us. And I would like to ask to all of you, how much do you think a company should invest as a budget for branding, marketing, communication, and so on? Do you have an idea? There is a way to identify the budget.
We don't know.
Sorry?
We don't know because we usually have nothing, so.
Okay. Zero budget. Okay, most of the time, zero budget, it's a zero solution, unless you pay for, you work for free. Yeah, no, but I mean, there is a way, and there is always a kind of solution, but there is also a way to identify a proper budget. And let's see if there is a way. So, it depends a lot on what kind of situation we are facing. If the company is in the B2C market or in the B2B market, for example, or both. It depends on the kind of market. It depends also on the size of the company. It depends on the company, on whether company is starting doing marketing at this moment, or if it's continuing, is going on in developing its marketing and its communication activities. I know that there are almost 4 different ways to identify a budget. And they are: the first one is a percentage of turnover, and we will see how. The second one is it's called the top-down approach. The third one, it's looking at the competition. And the fourth one is goal-driven. The first method, it's a percentage of turnover, and it's a way to identify a percentage having a look to our status. For example, an established company that has already carried out some activities in the marketing and digital fields and want to go on in that without doing nothing more, it's about the 3 and the 5% of the turnover. If the same company is adding new activities to the one that were done previously, we should invest something between 8 and 10% of the turnover to support the new activities and the previous one as well. If we are facing a situation in which the company is not something that is already running for example, 10 years, but we are facing a startup situation, a startup should invest between the 20 and the 50% of his investment in marketing, communication, and this kind of stuff. The second approach is called the top-down approach. And basically, it's when your boss is coming to you and he says something like, oh, you have 10 euros to do everything, or you have 100 euros or 1,000 or whatever it is. And it's a method with it's not data-driven. There is nothing planned in this way. It's just only your boss that is forcing you to use just only a small amount of money. The third one is looking at the competition. So the idea is, if my competitor invests in creating a new website, I should invest the same to do my website. So I will spend the same amount, but the approach is following someone else and never attacking to create your own strategy and your own way to approach to the market, also having a budget. The fourth one is called goal-driven, and it's the most difficult one because it requires a lot of time and a very well-organized marketing office. But, of course, it's also the best one between the four of them. And in this case, we should do previously some costs for the company in order to create the budgets. For example, in this case, we have also to identify what kind of objectives have to be pursued, like increases the sales, creating new leads, acquire new customers, reduce churn, upselling or cross-selling, increase awareness of the brand, increase the customer satisfaction, launch of a new product or solution, rebranding or repositioning, and so on, so on, so on. So, based on these different goals and knowing how much could be the cost of doing an action like this, we can create also a budget. But which between all these methods should be identified as a solution for you? It depends, because it depends. The first method is a good starting point for companies that are beginning their journey in doing communication. The second and third are very limiting since they have no methodological basis. And the fourth one is for very complex systems. So think about your situation and decide which method is best for you. Probably the first one, having a look to what you said in these days. obviously, the information that goes in our briefing is the amount of money that we have at our disposal. Let's move on in step 3 about metrics and KPIs to understand that is essential to us to identify some metrics. Because at the end of the process, as you have seen in my previous chart, we need to compare our result to what we decided to use as a metric for our process. And especially to identify what's the return of investment of our action. So all the metrics that we are going to fix at the start of the process should be identified starting from according to the business objectives. And let's say some examples just to have a brief idea of them. For example, the percentage increase in the turnover, or increase in brand awareness, or for example, an increase in our online buzz, an increase in followers on Facebook, for example, increase in the conversation or in the conversation rate on our e-commerce, etc., etc., etc. They are not fixed. So each time that we organize our business objectives, we should identify the best metrics that fit to that kind of project. So why is that? We need to measure our return of investment at the end of the process. And in order to do that, we have a formula which is fixed, and our return of investment about marketing, it's sales growth minus marketing cost divided by marketing cost. But this formula is not the best one to me, because it involves also the organic part of the sales. So the kind of sales that we have done without using the marketing. And so the formula should be another one, and should be like this. ROI of marketing, it's sales minus organic sales growth minus marketing costs, everything divided by marketing costs. And this will be essential at the end to compare our results to our purposes at the start of the process. What are the information that goes into our briefing? All the KPIs, all the metrics that we need to use in order to validate the process. Let's move on to the step 4, branding and trademark, which is a big part of this presentation. Because I've seen that there are a lot of misunderstanding about it. Branding, it's essential to us because it's a way to identify who is talking. And we need also to take care of it as soon as it's possible, because in order to avoid wasting time, money, energy, and perhaps creating a corporate asset, if necessary, that can be monetized also in the future. Branding, having and managing a brand, it's not a choice that has to be made just to keep yourself with a good logo, a compelling logo. It's a way to distinguish your organization, your company, from the competitors. And we have to remember that this is not just only a system to have the kind of graphics that we need when we talk, but it's a way to approach to the market. And let's see why that. Let's start from the definition for branding and trademarks. A brand is a conceptual entity capable of summarizing the reason for purchasing or preference by an individual or an organization. The brand has the task of developing the business capital. The branding, it's a business model oriented on, and it's also an alternative to a previous system that was based on product or service oriented. The brand represents on one side the legal subject, and on the other the visual and textual code which the brand connotes itself and offers itself to its public. But let's see how it works. This is the Maslow pyramid, which take the name from this American psychologist of the last century, which identify an hierarchy of human needs. At the first step, there are the primary needs of the humans, so breathing, eating, drinking, and sleeping, and so on. Starting to go up in the pyramid, we will meet the needs for security, for example, protection, stability, tranquility needs. And these are important for survival, but not as urgent as the primary one. In the middle of the pyramid, we find the social needs: family, friendship, sentimental ties and approval, and they represent the ambition to be appreciated by the social community. The fourth step in the pyramid is need for esteem, self-esteem, respect, social recognition. They mirror the urgency to be perceived as a valid and reliable member of the community. And on top of this pyramid, there are the needs for self-actualization. So the aspiration to be what you want to be by using all your mental, intellectual, and physical facilities. So, if we think about the previous system, all the products and services that compete just only on the price, so it's a battle just only on the price, can fulfill their needs with the fit from the first step. But there is inside the pyramid, and let's go back to the pyramid for 1 second. So, all the part of human needs, which is from the second to the top, it's the brand territory. Because using the brand, we can satisfy the kind of needs. It's not just only eating something. It's a way through your brand to go inside the human behaviors and human needs. You can connect in this way, and that's why branding is so important, and it's not just only a logo or some few colors. There is an entire system, and we're going to see how it works. To implement a branding model, a conceptual and identity infrastructure capable of performing this task must be developed. Then, let's say this, and this is very, very important, is not a logo, or as is correct to say, a trademark. It is the set of reasons why the customer choose a particular company or a certain offer. This system determines also the survival capacity of a company because it is directly proportional to the strength that its brand is able to express. Successful brands create a positive business result by designing and developing themselves through the use of 12 basic archetypes theorized by Carl Gustav Jung, and these archetypes turn out to be crucial as activators of emotions and are divided into four fundamental human emotions, which are stability, independence, change, and belonging. Have a look to this image. These are the 12 archetypes, and do you feel that these brands are associated to the concept of them? I will try to show it better for you. So, the first archetype is the innocent. It keeps your integrity and optimism. Do you feel that Dove or Disney conflict with this idea? Do you feel it? And also with the wise, seek the true with intelligence. Google or Audi are this kind of brands. They use this archetype. As in the same way, for the explorer that promise new experiences and incite people to try them, Jeep is, it expresses exactly something like this. But a commercial by Jeep, you always see that they are running by the car in outside the road. The rebel, for example, we can have Harley Davidson or Diesel, like a sample for this archetype, or the wizard, like Apple and Dyson. If you have a look to the commercial or to the communication of these two brands, you can feel that they are very, very, very close in the way they communicate. And this is because a specific choice about what archetype is going to be used to let the brand talk with their customers. Going on in the 12 archetypes, there is the hero. Nike, it's the hero of this category because they act boldly by creating innovation. If you think to the payoff for Nike, it's just do it. And it expresses exactly these kind of feelings and emotions. The lover, do you remember Mueller? Do you know Mueller as a yogurt? It's soft. It's quite emotionally asking you to have a kiss with that kind of yogurt when the product is displayed. Chanel as well. We got also the jogger. Think about the Fanta and Moments, the fun that they try to express with their brand. And the man, IKEA, everyone. It's mass market. Everyone can go IKEA and take at home the part of the design that they are selling. The design is for everyone in IKEA. So it's the common man. In eBay as well. The guardian angel, he cares for others. Here there is Molino Bianco, probably you heard about it, it's an Italian brand, but you already know also Pampers. Also Vane, Mercedes, or Rolex, or if you drive a Mercedes, or if you wear a Rolex on your arm, well, you are the king, man. Say it. Or the creator, the last of these archetypes. Think about Lego. Think about Adobe. These are brands that talk in this way. All this brand, all the archetypes are associated to an entire system, a specific brand strategy, which include the six basic elements, which are vision, mission, key values, so it's the brand equity, and one big idea with respect to the market, which is the brand positioning generally expressed by the payoff of the brand, the personality, and a tone of voice. So, a brand identify aim at the concept and an ambiguous identification of the brand itself with respect to any communication channel in use. We are facing to an entire system that should appear like this image, in which on one side we have all the values, all the concepts that are behind the brand, that are not visible, but they exist. And on the other part, like the iceberg that you are watching in this image, is the trademark, all the elements that identify the brand, which is the minor part, which is the only part that is visible. All these complex conceptual, visual, and textual systems work synergically with the company software in order to create a link with the consumer who achieves the satisfaction of his not primary needs. So this system, if you remember the pyramid that we saw before, cover all the needs from the second to the top. To be able to build a stronger brand, we need to have some important characteristics, which are, first of all, it should be standing out. It should have a product or service that stand out in your market. You should build a loyalty with your audience, with your target. But the reputation should be considered. It should be considered as the ability of generate a good reputation. And fourth, the business. So the results are important also to define a good brand instead of a bad one. We said it before, a brand can take also an economic value over time. And this is a thing that you should consider, not that much probably for a public museum, but it could be also an asset. For example, if you think about Valentino as a brand, do you know Valentino? Okay. The main part of the incomes that Valentino itself had when he sold his brand, his company, was coming from his brand. So we are talking about hundreds of millions, and Valentino collected all this amount of money just because he was able to raise a good brand. All the other part was the minor part of the company, just because Valentino used to create and develop its product abroad. He didn't have a company in which they produce by itself their goods. So we can say that a good trademark, it's also about money. It's equal to money. And if you think about it, we're going to see an example coming from my country. We can have also the same product, but with a different value. For example, in Italy, we got these are two bottles of water. It's not very visible to you, but there is one on the left and one on the right. They come from the same water source, but one costs us 20 cents and the other one costs about 45 cents. It's the same water, but the cost is totally different because of the brand, because of the investment that is done on the right one bottle instead of the left one. The value of the brand must be defended, and there are a lot of two main way to do that. From one side, we can defend our brand in a legal way with copyright, with trademark, or with registered trademark, but it's more important to defend your brand with daily protection. And to do that, we need to keep in mind four macro aspects. First one is the brand awareness. So you have always keep in mind what does it mean to have a brand and the characteristics of that brand, and to spreading these characteristics with all the people that are involved in your organization. So no one in your museum should be uninformed about how your brand works. Anyone should be on the same page. The brand coherence. And you should see this from both sides. Coherence of the communication, the brand identity, and the coherence in the way the brand act in the entire society. You should consider also the presence of a brand, because any contact point could be something that could talk about your brand. Last one is the brand monitoring. So you should consider also to monitor how the brand is used in the different touch points, in order to be sure that what is going on in the real world match with your desire and your strategies about branding. So what does it go inside the briefing about branding? First of all, the key values, the big idea, personality, and tone of voice. Because in this way, we are saying to the creative that will develop the message, in which way our brand talks to the people. And of course, also the entire visual identity will go inside the briefing. So let's move on now, and let's approach also marketing, because there are a lot of answers also to what I think you need in order to achieve your goals. And let's start from this question. What is marketing? Is anyone that is able to give me an answer? Except Mateus? Yeah.
Marketing focuses on sales, but public relations focuses on long-term relationships. And both marketing and public relations people, they're both have um, be able to influence the brand. They have the same brand values. They both are helping with the brand.
Sure, it is like this.
Well, in marketing, the main goal is to have for the customer, the main kind of
I don't know. The first objective of marketing is not selling. There is a specific branch in each company that is just only for selling. So marketing is not something like this. Marketing is something totally different. And it's a set of institutional and business processes aimed at creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offers that add value for customers, partners, and society at large. Which means that it's more about changing the belief in customer minds.
you don't like to look at that separately, like changing beliefs and working with branding, like not the marketing, but public relations. You don't want to do it like that.
I couldn't hear, but
Well, I think you don't think that marketing and public relations, you see that's
no, no, unfortunately not. No, I don't think so. It's not just only about my thinking. This is the exactly the definition of marketing. It's not my one. It's not a personal one. It's what marketing was born for, and now is defined globally. So marketing is about changing what is in the mind of customers by analyzing a series of situations, and after that deciding a strategy in order to achieve the goals of changing that beliefs if they need to be changed. Instead of it, you work in supporting the brand and the products.
and then they're changing their mind and people to the
And but you create the connection. It's not about selling, it's about creating the connection between a brand, its product, and the target, and the people. That's it. Is directly connected to the competitive challenge in the market, a battle that fulfills not only the need to survive in a market, but to grow in value while evolving with respect to economic changes, political regulatory or socials. So it's a way to understand what's the field around the company. It's a way to identify how to survive, also if something is going to change from a political, social point of view. In order to do that, we need a marketing strategy, which should be collected in a marketing plan, which is the proper document that we use to do in order to create our plan. And on the internal side, it's also a way to connect all the different departments that are in a company to let them face the challenge all together. Let's talk for 1 second of the marketing plan, which is a document that on one hand collects all the strategies and on the other allows to align the entire company organization. The marketing plan consists of a whole series of elements and they are a summary of all its content, an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the company and the product of services, the market opportunities, the competition, and the consumers, and the customers, sorry. A strategy related to how to segment the market, how you intend to position the product or service in the market, and all the tactical programs that identify which products will be offered at what prices and how they will be promoted and distributed. A financial section, an implementation plan that outlines the timescales and programs to be implemented, indicating who is responsible for their execution. To arrive to the creation of a marketing strategy, we need a four-phase child planning process. We'll have to carry out an analysis, strategy, tactics, and measurements. And basically, something like this. The first step is about analyzing our business, identifying who are the clients, who are the competitors, what are the main gates, the main what characterize our product or our services. An analysis also about the selling process and the market, obviously, which is the main analysis that we should do. The second step is about the strategy, in which we will do the segmentation and choice of the segments about our target, our market. There is also all the targeting, or the positioning, and the definition of our objectives. Third, the 4 P's of marketing. This is the time in which we will talk about the product and services. We will define the prices. We will define how to promote our product or services and how to distribute them. And last but not least, the measurement of our results that we already talked about before and we'll talk about at the end. So, what goes into our brief coming from the marketing? To generate all the information that needs to be transferred to those who will have to deal with the developing the corporate communication. In particular, we'll see the primary and secondary target, that goes into the briefing, the product or service benefit that need to be communicated, and the reason why to do so, the message itself, the prices, if they are acceptable by the target, the level of awareness that must be achieved, and the media that will be used. So, if you agree, I will do a quick pause, or we move on till the end. We are almost. Let me see. We are almost two-thirds of the process. Ai 2/3 del processo. Do you want to do a quick pause?
I think we should take lunch break, maybe, and then come back.
Sorry?
I think we have to take lunch break and then come back.
Okay, so we can move from here to till the end of the lesson, okay? Okay, see you later.
Nate, as soon as you finish your lunch, please come back.
Okay, yes, the washing process, the whole group, and when you come back, we have to finish the lesson and even to make the interviews for last interview. So,
So we are now recording.
Sì, perché sono, insomma, va bene, va bene. See you in an hour. Bye bye.